champagne flute shattered against the marble floor of the penthouse, and for a single, suspended moment, the entire gala held its breath. But for Alara, the world had already narrowed to a pinprick of light at the end of a very long, dark tunnel. A tunnel where Liam's mocking laughter still echoed. "Alara? My, I hardly recognized you." Liam's voice was a silken blade expertly wielded. He stood with an arm draped possessively around the waist of a woman, whose dress probably cost more than Alara's student loans. "Still scraping by, I see. I heard you're temping at some corporate firm. Quite a step up from the coffee shop." Alara's cheeks burned. The borrowed emerald green dress, which had felt so empowering an hour ago, now felt like a cheap costume. She could feel the eyes of the glittering crowd, a mix of pity and morbid curiosity. This was her worst nightmare, rendered in excruciating high-definition detail. 3 years since he'd left her with a note and maxed out credit cards, and he could still reduce her to the poor, naive girl from the wrong side of town with just a few words. "Some of us actually work for a living, Liam," she managed, her voice a trembling whisper. "And some of us marry into it," he smirked, nodding toward his fiancée. "But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" The humiliation was a physical weight, crushing her lungs. She wanted to run, to disappear. Her gaze, desperate and wild, swept across the sea of indifferent, wealthy faces until it landed on him. Caelan Thorne, the reclusive, notoriously ruthless CEO of Thorne Industries, the host of this obscene display of wealth. He was standing apart, a dark sentinel observing the scene with an expression of profound boredom. He was her last, most desperate resort. Her heels clicked a frantic staccato on the marble as she crossed the room, ignoring Liam's continued, sotto voce jabs to his new circle. She stopped in front of Caelan, her chest heaving. "Mr. Thorne," she breathed, her voice cracking. His cold, gray eyes flickered down to her, devoid of recognition. "Can I help you?" This was it, the most insane, humiliating gamble of her life. She leaned in, close enough to catch the faint, clean scent of his cologne. "Please," she whispered, the word tearing from her throat. "My name is Alara Vance. I work in the mailroom of your downtown branch. You don't know me, but I am begging you, please." His brow furrowed slightly, a crack in his impassive facade. "Begging me for what?" Tears she refused to shed blurred her vision. "Act like you love me. Just for 5 minutes, just put your arm around me. Smile at me like I'm the only person in this room. That man over there, he destroyed me, and he's doing it again right now. Please. I have nothing else to offer you, but I will be in your debt forever." Caelan Thorne was a man who dealt in absolutes and multi-million-dollar contracts. He was not a man of charity, but as his gaze shifted from her desperate, pleading eyes to the smug, gloating face of Liam across the room, something shifted. A flicker of recognition. Not of her, but of a dynamic. A predator recognizing another, lesser predator. A long, agonizing silence stretched between them. Alara was certain he would call security. Then a miracle. His large, warm hand came up to cradle her jaw, his thumb stroking her cheek with a tenderness that stole her breath. The coldness in his eyes melted, replaced by a warmth so convincing, so intense, that for a heart-stopping second she believed it herself. "Alara, my darling," he said, his voice a low, intimate rumble that carried just enough to be overheard. "I've been looking for you all night. You vanished on me." He didn't just put an arm around her. He pulled her into his side, his body a solid protective wall against the world. He tucked her against him, his lips brushing her temple in a gesture so possessive and affectionate that a soft sigh rippled through the nearby crowd. Liam's smirk had vanished. He was staring, dumbfounded. I was just getting some air," Alara stammered, playing her part, her body trembling not from act, but from the shocking reality of being held by Caelan Thorne. "Well, the air is better with me, don't you think?" Caelan's voice was laced with playful arrogance, but his eyes, when they met hers, held a glint of something else. Amusement, perhaps, at their little charade. He turned his head, his gaze landing directly on Liam. "Ah, you must be Liam Forsyth. My fiancée mentioned she knew you from her past life." The word fiancé hung in the air, a detonation. Alara felt her knees go weak. She had asked him to act like he loved her, not to claim they were engaged. But the damage, the glorious, exquisite damage, was done. Liam's face was ashen. "Fiancé?" he choked out. "Indeed," Caelan said smoothly, his hand stroking Alara's back. "It's been a whirlwind. When you find the real thing, you don't waste time, do you?" Ilara has made me the happiest man alive." He looked down at her, and the raw, unguarded adoration in his expression was an Oscar-worthy performance. "Haven't you, my love?" All she could do was nod, her throat too tight for words. She saw the last vestiges of Liam's confidence crumble into a heap of stunned jealousy and regret. He muttered a curt congratulations and all but dragged his own fiancée away. The moment they were out of earshot, the tension drained from Kaylin's frame, but he didn't immediately release her. "Thank you," Ilara whispered, her face buried against the lapel of his impossibly expensive suit. You went above and beyond. An engagement seems to have been the required level of force to neutralize the threat," he replied, his voice back to its usual cool timbre, though he still held her. "Are you all right?" She finally looked up at him. "I will be. I just need to go." "Nonsense." His arm tightened around her. "You're my fiancée for the night. Leaving now would cause more gossip. Stay. Finish the performance." He led her to the dance floor, and as he took her in his arms for a waltz, Ilara was lost. The world became a blur of lights and music, and all she could focus on was the solid strength of him, the surety of his lead. He was playing a part, she knew that. But her heart, so bruised and battered, didn't seem to care. It was beating a frantic, hopeful rhythm against her ribs, clinging to the fiction he had so masterfully created. For the first time in years, she felt seen. She felt valuable. And that, she would soon realize, was the most dangerous feeling of all. The performance lasted the entire night. Kaylin was flawless. He introduced her as his fiancée to business associates with a proud, proprietary air. He fetched her champagne, his fingers brushing hers in a way that sent sparks up her arm. He whispered comments in her ear that were just for them, a mix of dry wit about the other guests and quiet, reassuring words for her alone. It was a heady, addictive drug. When the gala ended, he escorted her not to a taxi, but to his waiting town car. "It's on my way," he'd said, a statement that was patently false but brooked no argument. They rode in silence through the rain-slicked city. Ilara stared out the window, the adrenaline fading, leaving a hollow, confused exhaustion in its wake. "Why did you do it?" she finally asked, her voice small in the luxurious quiet of the car. "The engagement? It was too much." Kaylin, who had been scrolling through his phone, looked up. The city light streaked across his sharp profile. Was it? He needed to be not just countered but annihilated. It was a strategic decision. "My life isn't one of your corporate strategies," she retorted, a flicker of her old spirit returning. Tonight, it was. He paused, studying her. "You're not like the people in that room. You were drowning in it." "I was," she admitted softly. The car pulled up in front of her modest apartment building, a stark contrast to the penthouse they'd just left. It was an embarrassing full stop to their Cinderella fantasy. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne, for everything. I won't bother you again." She reached for the door handle. "Kaylin," he said. She turned back. "What? My name is Kaylin." "And you will be bothering me again." He handed her a crisp white business card. It was blank except for a single handwritten phone number. "My private line. The narrative we created tonight requires maintenance. We'll need to be seen together again. A few public appearances to make it believable. Then we can stage a quiet, amicable breakup." Ilara's heart plummeted. Of course. It was all about controlling the narrative. A cleanup operation for a mess he had, however gallantly, participated in. "Right. The narrative," she said flatly, taking the card. She expected that to be the end of it. A bizarre, beautiful, humiliating one-night stand of the non-physical variety. But he called the next day, and the day after that. Their public appearances were a whirlwind. A charity auction where he bid a scandalous amount on a painting she merely glanced at. A dinner at an exclusive restaurant where he listened, truly listened, as she talked about her dreams of going back to school for design. He asked questions. He remembered her answers. The facade began to develop cracks filled with moments of startling genuineness. He started texting her good morning. He sent his driver to pick her up when it rained. He showed up at her door one evening with takeout from her favorite Thai place. Having somehow ferreted out the information from a passing comment she'd made, she was falling in love with him. It was a terrifying, exhilarating freefall. She knew it was a business arrangement, a prolonged performance. But the way he looked at her sometimes, it felt real. The way his laughter seemed to come from a deeper, less guarded place when they were alone. The way he'd started to confide in her about the pressures of his company, his lonely childhood. One evening, a month into their arrangement, they were curled up on his sofa, the lights of the city sprawling beneath them. There was no audience, no narrative to maintain. "This feels dangerously close to real," Ilara whispered, her head on his shoulder. Kalen was silent for a long time, his fingers tracing patterns on her arm. "What if it is?" he finally said, his voice rough. He leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't the chaste performative kiss from the gala. This was a consuming, desperate, soul-searing kiss that tasted of truth and 1,000 unspoken words. It was the kiss she had been dreaming of. In that moment, she let herself believe the fairy tale. The following week, he took her to a private viewing at a gallery. He was being more affectionate than ever, his arm constantly around her, his gaze soft. Ilara's heart was a buoyant, fragile thing. He was going to tell her he loved her. He was going to say the arrangement was over and that he wanted the real thing. As they were leaving, an older, distinguished-looking man approached them. "Kalen, I thought that was you." The man boomed, clapping Kalen on the back. His eyes slid to Ilara, and a knowing, slightly cruel smile touched his lips. "And you must be the new one. Still running the fiancé protocol, I see." The world tilted. Ilara froze. Kalen's body went rigid beside her. "Charles, not now." "Fiancé protocol?" Ilara echoed, her voice barely audible. The man, Charles, chuckled, misreading the tension. "Oh, come on, Kalen. The old rescue the damsel in distress, play the devoted fiancé to make the ex jealous, make yourself look like a hero routine. It's your signature move, brilliant for your public image. The press eats it up every time. How many has it been now? 3, 4? You always pick the pretty vulnerable ones. They're so grateful they play their part perfectly." Each word was a shard of glass piercing her soul. The pretty vulnerable one, so grateful. She looked at Kalen, her eyes pleading for him to deny it. To tell this man he was wrong, that she was different. But Kalen wouldn't meet her gaze. His jaw was clenched, his face a mask of stone. He didn't deny a single word. The unforgettable twist wasn't a sudden accident, a hidden illness, or a revealed secret sibling. It was the utter demolition of her reality. The most beautiful, perfect month of her life had been a pre-scripted play. His kindness, his vulnerability, the kiss that had tasted like a future. All of it was a lie, perfected through rehearsal with other women. She was not the protagonist of a heartbreaking romance. She was a supporting actor in his never-ending corporate PR campaign. Without a word, Ilara turned and walked away. She didn't run. She walked with a dignity she didn't feel, each step taking her further from the beautiful, heartbreaking lie. Kalen finally called out her name. His voice strangled. She stopped but didn't turn back. "Ilara, it started that way," he said, the words rushing out. "But with you it became real. You have to believe me." Slowly she turned to face him. The tears were streaming down her face now, but her voice was eerily calm. A stark contrast to her desperate plea from a month ago. "Act like you love me. Please," she whispered, throwing his own devastating performance back at him. "Oh wait, you already did." And this time there was no script, no strategy, and no lie potent enough to bring her back.